This is the OTB Television Network, a service of Capital District Off-Track Betting.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Handicappers Report alongside Jeff Carl. I am Anthony Mormino on this Friday morning, actually 13 days before Thanksgiving. The latest possible date. Sunny out here in the Capital District, a little crisp as it will be. Jeff has made it back from Maryland. Did you go to Laurel? Did you take in the racing at?
I had no car, so I mean,
No car?
we're at my.
Your sister didn't help. Your daughter didn't help you out.
She had to work, so I mean, we had a use of her car on a very limited basis.
All right.
So, it wasn't like I could just take off to the races. So,
See me, I'd be like, honey, can you drop me off at the
she
track?
does, but on Comcast she does have TVG.
Okay.
So I was able to watch some races.
I'd be like,
yes.
can you just drop me off at the track? I don't know. Pick me up later, like when you're a little kid, when you're like 14. It's like, just drop me off at the movies and come back and pick me up later in the day. I'll be fine. Give me a couple $dollars in my pocket. I'll get fed, and I'll bet some horses. Maybe I'll give you back more than you lent me this morning. A couple quick thoughts. Yesterday, a beautiful day around the country. We'll be back at Hollywood Park today. I'm not a horizontal race player, but I am a trifecta player. What I'm getting to right away is going to be betting into blind pools, and I just think in this modern era, it's not really necessary. And we had the yin and the yang yesterday. If you're watching racing from Churchill Downs or Laurel, I'll get to New York in a second, but at Churchill Downs, I know I reference, or at least I try and reference very regularly, the morning line price, because as much as it doesn't affect me, I understand the reason that I always want it to be done well for the general public is it has a very powerful message. And if you were watching races at Churchill Downs and you were into the horizontal wagers, there was a $105 winner by Brian Hernandez Zadina late in the card, being part of a late double, first leg of a double, late double, last leg. But it was also the middle part of a pick three. It was also the second leg of a pick four, and it's paid $105. Now, you probably have to be thinking that this is pretty good stuff. And I know what the winners always say, well, it did pay. And when all was said and done, I want to give you the prices of the other horses. We had a $4.80 horse, we had a $10.40 horse, and we had a $3.80 horse. Those are the horses involved. That was in linear order, so the pick three, the pick four. And you had the $105 horse in there. Well, just to give you an example, the parlay and the double paid about the same. You didn't get hurt. You got hurt there. The pick three, the parlay was over 1,000. It came back 600. The pick four comes back 1,600. The parlay was like $1,000 more. These bets are supposed to pay 30 to 50 to 70% more than the parlay, not less. But I think this was the key. The key was that Zadina, who paid $105, was 12 to 1 in the morning line. The horse went off at 50 to 1, but the horse was 12 to 1 in the morning line. And I think in horizontal betting, the morning line, especially after the first leg, because you can see the dopey tote board then, but in the after legs, people spreading, yeah, you'd grab a 12 to 1. Now, I know it's just a theory, but I wonder if Zadina had been 50 to 1 in the morning line, just the morning line. I believe in 35 years of watching this game and betting it almost each day, that those horizontal prices would have been dramatically differently. Now, on the other side of the coin, for those who like to play Laurel, they had Christmas in November yesterday because, I kid you not, it was one of the few times I kicked myself not playing horizontal wagers. But riddle me this. I had to write this down. This is incredulous. These are the mutuals for the late pick four at Laurel yesterday. Karnak says 540, 740, 520, and look out, $8.60 for the long shot in the pick four. So you had basically 3 to 2, 5 to 2, 3 to 2, and 3 to 1. Those were the winning odds. All right? The parlay is 223. It came back 786. It came back three times the parlay. Now, that's a little high. I mean, that's extremely generous. But here, talking about the morning line odds, I think really hurt the horizontal players at Churchill Downs. I think field size was the winner at Laurel Park. Here are the field size, even though you had the aforementioned winning prices. 8 in the opener, 13, 10, and 13. So just in case you're wondering, I don't think I make most of this stuff up, that the morning line odds is very relevant, especially when it's done well. And as I said, there's very few panaceas in life, but field size is one of them. But a $233 late pick 4 parlay at Laurel comes back 3 times the price. And with a $100, $105 winner for Brian Hernandez in amongst the pick 3 and pick 4, the late double at Churchill Downs, you just get chopped less than the parlay would have played, but that was, I think, a direct descendant of 12-1. Also, couple, as you're watching Churchill Downs, it's still maintaining these outside post position, these late runs. It's unbelievable on the dirt. And at Aqueduct, it has been the same exact thing. Yesterday, forget the fact that 3 gray horses won on a day, but how about 4 runners won from the extreme outside post position in the relevant fields? Now, you might say, well, Mormino was like 5 or 6 favorites. It was, I think, let me check this out. 6 winning favorites, 2 second choice, and 1 third choice won yesterday at Aqueduct. So it was very favored. But when you looked at the internal fractions, I'll tell you one thing. I don't think a horse has won at Aqueduct's main track with about a 2 or 3 length lead at the pace call yet. And yet we deal in American racing where speed is usually very, very good. But I'll tell you one thing, it has been unbelievable. The 2 horses that were closest to the front end that won yesterday, one of them was, let me get this, $280 and a $6 horse. You got to figure it out, but this is pretty obvious right now.
Yeah, yesterday, actually, I scratched into the winner of the first race. I had a
Aliana or something,
yeah,
280?
I had picked the Kimmel first-time starter. I actually had to pick the early pick 3, which ended up being quite chalky. I think it came back $130, something like that. But
6 favorites, yes.
Yeah, my pick in the first 3 races was that first-time starter that got scratched. But you know what? I did hit the first 3 yesterday. But, Anthony, what do you say we jump into today's 10-race Churchill Downs card? You ready to roll?
Just one quick note on the second race yesterday, the Bill Mott firster that won, Tipper Rose. You had that. One of the most intriguing workout patterns. I wouldn't have cared if it was for Todd Pletcher, a firster winner. If you get a chance, go back and look at the firster for Bill Mott. I believe it's pronounced Tipper Rose. The 4 workouts I'm referring to, the most recent one and the 4th one, I think were like the 99th out of 100.
Yes,
the other one was 52.
The 2 in between were
bullets.
Saratoga bullets, yes. And I've always, as you know, I like to go with first-time starters and maiden claiming events. And you'll see later on in the program a horse that Bill Mott runs later on today. I think Bill's purging the stable, so getting ready for the winter time. It just looked to me that she fit very well. Like I said, I like that the workout pattern. Some trainers, Anthony, will go. They want their best work to be the one leading into the race. The others just kind of want a little bit maybe of a maintenance. They put the screws to them in those 2 or 3 works before their last one. I think Kieran McLaughlin does that a lot.
How often, though, do you see the disparity? If your 4 workouts are 2 bullets and the other 2, I think the most recent one, she was 102nd out of 103. Yeah. And the one that was 4 back, she was 52nd out of 53rd.
Yes.
It's all or nothing.
Oh, I remember it, yeah. I remember because I picked her on top. And, the bullet works were in Saratoga and the Oklahoma track in October with a horse population isn't as large.
Right.
So it's not as outstanding.
Yeah, I think
but
it was
it's
like
still
20
But it still is significant.
Yeah, well, it's significant to me. It's like, what was his intention? You have... you can't walk, and the other one you zip. Also, Dolly, I'm pretty sure yesterday was the first 2-time winner at the meet. And Jeremiah Engelhart continues to march on.
And let's move on to the opener at Churchill Downs. 6 furlongs, fillies and mares 3 and up, which have never won 3 races or straight 3-year-olds, and they're in for a claim price of $15,000 down to $10,000.
It is truly helpful to believe that you think you know how the racetrack is playing. At Churchill Downs at this meet, it has been very beneficial that it's consistency for winning. I can't tell you how many times, whether I like the horse or not, I've seen horses on the front end cleared, and I've just sat there going, you just really have no chance. And Julian Leparoux's move yesterday, how often do you see this? He's sitting behind 6 horses, and he splits them perfectly. 3 to his left and 3 to his right. He gets the job done. What a surprise for Mike Maker and the Ramsey Silks everywhere. 5-6-4 as we try and follow this racetrack home. Bourbon Best gets my top pick, and we're just going to ride the idea of, you know, if you can stay on the far outside. I saw a horse yesterday at Churchill Downs ridden by Leandro Gonzalez going 2 turns. He sprinted from the outside. I think he was number 9, Santa Claus. Sprinted from the outside. Still got caught 4 wide on the first turn. 4 wide on the backstretch. 4 wide entering. Still didn't matter how. Let's see what Trackus gives him for a number of extra feet he won, but he was much the best. So hold on. Don't worry about your horse getting a late run as we saw at Keeneland. But Bourbon Best is an off-the-pace type of runner. Comes back, shortens up to 6 furlongs after trying a mile. I just think that this horse has a pattern that, you know, I don't want horses with speed right now. How often do you say that in dirt racing in the United States? For a second, the outside horse, number 6, Edelai, goes out for Dylan Davis, who had a victory yesterday. This horse makes the debut at Churchill Downs, but for me, it's just a running style that I'm going to sit with. This horse ships in from Thistle Downs for third. Number 4, B for Baba, another horse making the Churchill Downs debut with the Berto Royal in the saddle. 5-6-4 in this afternoon's opener.
That's going to take us to the second race at Churchill Downs. It is a mile and a 16th. It is a claiming event. Fillies and mares 3 and up, which have never won 2 races, or straight 3-year-olds. They're in for a claiming price of $30,000 down to $25,000.
And we have a shorter field than we saw yesterday, but overland routes, you know, I've often commented that in my trip notes, W, W, W is usually for a route race where the horse never had a chance to save ground, and it's almost immaterial on the dirt at Churchill. 6-3-1, Bella Gray gets my top pick from the outside, a horse with an off-the-pace type of running style, and most recently ran on the poly track over at Keeneland, starting in the parking lot. That day came off the pace, ran 4th. Remember, as I talked about Keeneland's meet, including their mile and 16th races, where, listen, just get the lead in the last 30 yards. Don't worry about it. But now this horse stretches out to 2 turns for the first time, an offspring of Monarchos with Corey Lettery in the saddle, who I think won his 20th yesterday, but you know, a gentleman we've had our eye on since last autumn's meet at Keeneland, at Churchill for second. Number 3, Lemon and Honey. Now this horse is 9-5 on the board, and obviously Julian Leparoux is dialed in since coming back to Kentucky and leaving California. And this horse, since getting the blinkers on the dirt, has run very well, including an impressive half a dozen length victory as the 8-5 favorite 2 races back. First time versus winners at this level, a race at Keeneland that you certainly can hang your hat on. So do we get the early speed dirt winner or the off-the-pace turf? This is one thing I'll say about Julian Leparoux, and I talk about this with bettors trying to dial into jockeys. He is completely aware of the way the racetrack is playing, because there are just times when you have to view what a jockey is doing and that they're doing with intent. And when he was behind the 6 horses yesterday, he had an invitation to go in different places earlier on the turn. He had no desire at all to put his horse down inside. He was willing to wait and wait, and as it turned out, he got the 4 path, 3 horses on the inside of him. He knows what's going on at Churchill Downs. He's getting the live mounts, etc. But I've always said this about watching any type of athletes, whether they're overperforming or underperforming. He is showing he knows how the racetrack is playing. This is clearly the horse to beat. For third, number 1, Ginny's Gray, very, very sharp of late. Has never found the winner's circle in 4 tries at Churchill Downs, but has hit the board in all of them. Also, another quick note on the betting at Churchill Downs. We seem to be having an atypical Kentucky-type area, almost similar to New York, where the morning line odds as a function of the betting line, a great disparity. These horses that they're betting down very low, 9-5 or such, coming off 4-1 prices. And the other thing, 7 claiming races at Churchill Downs yesterday. 5 times the winner was claimed. And the majority of those 5, if you had looked on the morning line, now I could see if you have an 8-5 shot together, they were not the favorite on the morning line. They were the favorite on the betting line. And 5 of the 7 picked off.
Yeah, but
somebody knows.
Or when you're, the claiming game is obviously very hot right now, because when you can claim a horse and then run them back for twice the amount, that you've claimed them for, their value. I mean, right here, the next race at Churchill Downs, the $7,500 claimers are in for a pot that's almost $12,000.
Right.
I mean,
but
you can get your money back pretty darn quickly nowadays.
Yeah, it's about the same though. You have to pay for $7,500. If you came back, say you didn't win and you came back in this spot, you'd be running for 6. You'd be running for the lion's share. So you're kind of close. It must be. I'd like to really get the trainers and tell me the angst they have if the horse won, though.
Right. You
it's
lose
not.
your condition.
It's not. It's. I don't know if it's counterintuitive, but it's not good to claim the horse that won. I mean, it might be good because you're saying the athlete is good right now, but I think if you ask most trainers, especially at this level, they don't want the horse to win today.
They want him to run well.
They don't want him to be like, oh, he's real good enough to win, because now they got to move on.
Yeah.
So I often think that the one thing about having, we had it one day in New York where every single claiming race the winner was claimed, that I think that day in and day out, I don't know that trainers would want that.
No, you're right, because now when they have the never won 2 life, the never won 3 life, that's where you compile a lot of
checks,
a lot of money and a lot of checks. So yeah, you're right. You want to keep that condition. The best thing you want finish second.
Yeah, 8-9-7, ladies and gentlemen, and it is a theory, a theme to me. I'm a big believer in running against the grain of the track, running with the track, and I'm also, I'll let you know, I'm predisposed that infrequently, about as often as a lunar eclipse, do I think a racing surface is fair. I don't even know how you define that. I think there's, whether it's winded aqueduct in Breeders' Cup 2 or whatever, I think there's always an advantage and always a disadvantage. So I'm just off the pace runners. I don't care how wide you are on dirt until this process stops. And I got to tell you something. I don't think it's stopping for this meet. Cheers for Wicked gets my top pick. Greg Foley sends out this runner. And Greg Foley, I know Seth is dialed into him. We talked about him, Jeff, while you're away. But Greg Foley, we saw him in New York, flies under the radar screen. And even at almost 25% at this meet, and now he's getting Julian Leperoux, who is clearly the white-hot jockey at this meet. And Cheers for Wicked on the outside. Stay on the outside. Stay off the pace. Just take our time in the long stretch that is Churchill Downs. And looking at these guys, you can see where Greg Foley, this is the type of stuff where if you were a data collector, the racing form, as it has improved itself, you've had chagrin because it's right there in black and white now, where the handful of times that Greg Foley has reached out for Julian Leperoux at Churchill Downs, they're batting 800. That might have been the type of stat years ago that wouldn't be public, and if you were a spreadsheet user, you would have that information. Now it just jumps out there. And they're going to bet Julian Leperoux's runner. They're going to bet Greg Foley. Forget 3-1 here, but number 8, Cheers for Wicked is my top pick. And we say it all the time. I make my picks before 11 o'clock, 1 o'clock the day before the racing. And number 9, Baltashan goes out. This is an offspring of Castledale. Hasn't started since the middle of August, and this horse is 1 for 13. And you look at this horse, and it's just about the race profile and the track profile that I think will help Anthony get this horse around if he just realizes the race will come back to you. For third, number 7, Artillery goes out for the first time since March 22nd. Now, that's a long layoff in here. And as I said, it's just the fact that I want an off-the-pace type of runner who, it sounds goofy, please be 4 wide around the turn. 8, 9, 7 in the third.
That's going to take us to the 4th race at Churchill Downs. It is 1 mile. It is a maiden claiming event for 2-year-olds. They're in for a claiming price of $30,000 down to $25,000.
6-5-1, my selection's in here, and Showbiz Star scheduled to make the 3rd start this afternoon, and you could guess no biz like Showbiz Offspring, who has run for a tag in both first 2 career starts, stretches out beyond 6 furlongs for the first time this afternoon, and this is just a mere matter of not only the 3rd career start, which I like, but this horse is no biz like showbiz. You're thinking a distance of ground. We're out in the middle of the racetrack. We have Joe Rocco Jr., so I feel very confident that this horse is going to sit a very attractive trip this afternoon. For second, right next door in the starting gate, number 5, Panther Key, who is a first-time starter for Donnie Van Himmel, and he's an offspring of Bob and John, going out for Corey Landry. Bob and John, if you remember a couple of years ago, he won one of the sloppiest editions, and I'm talking weather-wise, of the Wood Memorial. He's an offspring of Seeking the Gold. 9 furlongs, 8 furlongs starting is usually not very good for a runner, but I think that's a good start. And I like the fact that Corey Landry takes the mount for this runner. And for third, number 1, Scooter Dickey sends out this runner. After a good effort, forget the beaten lengths, on that day, but a good effort. And now my only thing is, when this crush of horses comes down to the inside, just let them go. Loop around. 6-5-1.
We're going to take a quick break. Races 1 through 4 at Churchill Downs in the books. When we come back, Anthony will finish out today's Churchill Downs card. So please stay tuned. You're watching the OTB TV Network.
I'm Mark Cassano. Join me Saturday mornings at 10 for Down the Stretch. We'll inform, analyze, and welcome in the biggest names in racing. So join me Saturday mornings at 10 for Down the Stretch, right here on the OTB Television Network.
The future of online betting is here, and only at the all-new CapitalOTBBet.com. With a newly designed and engineered internet wagering platform, enhanced video streaming, additional funding options, and 3 new individual wagering opportunities, CapitalOTBBet.com delivers a state-of-the-art wagering experience found nowhere else in horse racing. Combine that with our all-new mobile website. You have 2 of the most powerful, innovative, and advanced wagering platforms available today. CapitalOTBBet.com. Log on today.
Hey, race fans, head down to the all-new Clubhouse Racebook and get in the game. With live horse racing on more than 250 flat-screen TVs, state-of-the-art wagering terminals, fantastic food and drinks, an amazing Vegas-style atmosphere with seating for nearly 900 of your closest friends. Conveniently located at 711 Central Avenue, right off Exit 5 of I-90 in Albany, the Clubhouse Racebook is the better choice.
I'm Seth Merrill. Join me weekdays at 10 for Racing Across America. We'll look at important races from around the country, get insight from top handicappers and analysts, and preview the upcoming week in racing. That's Racing Across America, weekdays at 10, right here on the OTB TV Network.
Welcome back to the Handicappers Report. Thank you for joining us on this Friday morning. Before the break, Anthony gave you his selections for Churchill races 1 through 4. We're going to move along to race number 5, and we're going to move to the turf course. It is a 1.16 miles. It's a maiden special weight event for 2-year-old fillies.
Quick note, the 11 and the 1A are MTOs. 12 through 15 are also eligibles. My selections are 1, 5, and 2. Scheduled to break from the number 8 post position on the turf this afternoon at Churchill Downs is Chrissy Field, making the 3rd career start. I like the first 2 starts. The debut was at Kentucky Downs on the turf, then came back on the poly track at Keeneland. And City Zip, you think about him winning the 3 juvenile stakes races 13 summers ago, but from a pedigree standpoint, for me, he has been turf up and down, and you have Stormcat on the bottom side, 8-1 with John Court in the saddle. St. George Farm Racing, talked about this farm a year ago or 2 years ago, with the Navy Silks with the Red Cross, and how many of them breeding and the handlers look like Mr. Humphrey. Also, for second, number 5, Gina's Kitten, an offspring of Kitten's Joy, scheduled to make the 3rd career start. Previous 2, both on turf, including a runner-up at nearly 10-1 when starting from the parking lot, going 9 furlongs at Keeneland. And for 3rd, on the hedge, we hope not for too long, number 2, Turtle River, offspring of Empire Maker, goes out for Bill Mott, making the 3rd career start. These owners had a winner yesterday, sent out by Helen Pitts, a very impressive winner. 1, 5, 2, remembering that the 10 is the end of the main body.
Moving along to the 6th race at Churchill Downs, 5.5 furlongs. It is a claiming event for 3 and up, which has never won 3 races or straight 3-year-olds. They're in for a claiming price of $7,500.
7-3-4, ladies and gentlemen, as these elders dash 5.5, and Sunzar is my top pick, and I'd like to see a repeat, not only because we won most recently at the September meet at Churchill Downs, but from an outside post position and a horse who's usually not on the pace. I'd like to see Robbie Alvarado keep that same running style for my top pick at 5-1, number 7, Sun Czar. For second, number 3, Pasture Rise, who is a big price in here at 15-1. And, you know, it's just the idea for me that the running style fits. This horse has been going a mile, shortened up to 6 at Indiana Downs and sat off of a strong pace race. Makes the second career try at Churchill Downs. For third, number 4, Big Ring. Jim Baker sends out this run. I'm going to throw out the Slop Effort try most recently on October 30th. This horse has run well very recently at Ellis Park and at Indiana Downs. See if we can transfer it at Churchill Downs on a clear, fast racetrack. 7-3-4 in the 6th.
That's going to take us to the 7th race at Churchill Downs, 7 furlongs. It is a maiden claiming event. For 3 and up, they're in for a claiming price of $20,000 down to $17,500.
3-10-9. Julian Leperoux has them out on my top pick, Little Jimmy. And I think based on what's been going on in Kentucky and yesterday afternoon at Churchill Downs, you would take 4-1 right at this moment and run for Mike Maker. Offspring of Langfjord. And, you know, you think about Langfjord, 7 furlongs, an optimum distance for him, whether turf or dirt. We get 7 this afternoon. And the running style, just to sit off the pace. And as I said, you know, when an athlete is dialed in, I think Julian Leperoux is extremely well dialed in for what is going on in the racetrack. You have to bet and believe that you're going to get if not the best case scenario, you're going to get the trip to win. You know, you're not going to get, you know, the jockey diving down to the inside or sending this horse from the starting gate and dropping over to the rail. They recognize what's going on. I think Little Jimmy, who is extremely attractive at 4-1, is my top pick. For second, number 10, Above the Bar. They had blinkers for this Offspring of Majestic Warrior, who was 15-1, 12-1 on the morning line. And you know, I might want to, when the wagering is done, especially if Little Jimmy is 9-5, want to reverse these thoughts, because Above the Bar is nearly as attractive as my top pick. Makes the second start since January 24th. The first start was at Keeneland that I think has practice written all over it. They've added blinkers. They get an elongated sprint. I expect number 10, Above the Bar, to run better than these 12-1 odds, and I think there is a strong chance we will get a big price. For third, number 9, Bama Bound. They add blinkers this afternoon. This horse started the first 5 starts in the career were maiden special weights. 2 races in a row ran for a tag. They were appreciably better finishing positions for this Offspring of Rock Hard 10. 3-10-9.
Moving along to the 8th race at Churchill Downs, 6 furlongs. It is a claiming event. Fillies and Mares 3 and up, claiming price of $5,000.
And 6-8-9, my selection's in here. And Lovely Leanne, who would be very lovely at a $26 mutual. Previous to the effort in the slop when breaking from the number 1 post position, was in very, very good form. So I'm going to throw out that debut effort at Churchill Downs. Hopefully we won't have a sloppy racetrack this afternoon. And we're not breaking from the rail, and we're looking at 3 times the price. For second, number 8, Slew Waters Slow. For me, this is just about running style for Norberto Arroyo. This horse won in the slop, but a couple of races back at Ellis Park showed an off-the-pace type of running style. That is what I'd like to see employed here. For third, number 9, Desi Girl, was a $4,500 claim at. If I ever said there was a $4,500 claim, what racetrack would you guess, America? Finger Lakes, yes. Makes the 4th start at Churchill Downs today. 6-8-9.
That's going to take us to the 9th at Churchill Downs. We're going to go back to the turf course. 5 furlongs. It is an entry-level allowance race, 3 and up.
And the 2B and the 1A part of the entry are also eligibles, ladies and gentlemen. 10, 3, 7 in this full field of 10. And Jimmer goes out this afternoon for the 10th career start. Hit the board in 5 of the first 9. An Offspring of the Magnificent, Elusive Quality. 2 races back in a turf sprint. Was a runner-up. Subsequent to that, went out to Hawthorne and finished 3rd. We saw a Hawthorne runner get bet down at Churchill Downs yesterday and find the winner's circle. For second, the other side of the starting gate in the main body, the hedge horse, number 3, Pure Aristotle, was a $25,000 claim, and I think a sharp claim for Darren Miller. A good off-the-board finish most recently under Joe Rocco Jr. Miguel Mena becomes the fifth different jockey, to ride this horse in 5 career starts. For third, number 7, Recalling Memories. I find it hard to believe that this horse will be double-digit odds. Fits the race profile very, very nicely. Gets back on Lasix 10-3-7.
The 10th and final race at Churchill Downs today is a maiden claiming event at 1 mile. Fillies and mares 3 and up, claiming price of $10,000.
9-1-3, Making Mo Lovin' going out for Phil Simms, not the quarterback, with Norberto Arroyo in the saddle. Makes the Churchill Downs debut. On the elongated sprint, coming off of 2 route races on the poly track at Keeneland. For second, the rail horse, number 1, Summer Opera. This one bred and owned by Janice Whittam. Janice Whittam of Bayakoa fame. She bred a winner yesterday without owning it, but she owns Summer Opera with Brian Hernandez, who's obviously his ROI will be quite healthy for the Churchill Downs Fall 2013 meet after yesterday's $105 winner. And for third, number 3, Dablin and Royalty. 9-1-3 in this afternoon's finale from Churchill.
And that's going to wrap up Anthony's selections for today's Churchill Downs card, and we're going to take another break. When we come back, I'll give you my picks for today's Aqueduct card. Please stay tuned. You're watching the OTB TV network.
The Capital OTB Handicapping Challenge Series is back. That's right, the 2013 Capital OTB Handicapping Challenge Series is back, and it's your chance to win thousands in cash and prizes and a seat at the 2014 National Handicapping Championship in Las Vegas. This month, the Capital Cup on December 7th. So sign up today online at capitalotb.com or stop in at the Clubhouse Racebook. And don't forget our Showviver series, Capital OTB's online handicapping contest. Each morning on the OTB TV network, you get the very best in horse racing programming. Weekdays begin with the Handicappers Report, where professional handicappers share their selections and analysis of the day's racing. Followed by Racing Across America, a daily conversation with racing personalities from around the country. Saturdays include Down the Stretch, where Mark Casano speaks with the biggest names in racing. And Sunday mornings, it's Loose on the Lead, where Steve Bick and I offer news and a unique lineup of weekly guests. All here on the OTB TV network.
Listen to what people are saying about the Clubhouse Racebook.
I've been coming here for well over 30 years to the OTB, and I think this is an outstanding facility. Probably comparable to something you'd see in Vegas. They have the big screens there, and then they have the auxiliary screens for, watching all the tracks. And the primary tracks of the day, they'll switch to the big screens, which is ideal for most of us race guys. We like to see the big races on the big screen. Well done.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Handicappers Report alongside Jeff Carlisle and Anthony Mormino, turning our attention to the Big A this afternoon. And, maybe it'll be as formful as it was yesterday. As I mentioned, 6 favorites, 2 second choices, and at least the third choice played a healthy amount as a third choice runner. But in the opener today at the Big A, we have 2-year-old fillies, maiden claimers, in for 50, racing 6.
They are fast and firm at Aqueduct, and during the break, I checked my Twitter feed. Today is Kieran McLaughlin's birthday. Happy birthday to Kieran from all of us here at Capital OTB. He's been a good friend of the station, appeared many, many times. So hopefully you have a nice day out there today, Kieran. In the opener, I'm going to go 6, 7, and 10. The number 6, Benny's Bullet, dropping back to the $50,000 maiden claiming level where he was claimed out of his first start. He started his career for $50,000 level on the dirt. Then they tried him 2 consecutive races at maiden special weight on the turf. He didn't run terrible. She didn't run terrible, a couple of nice seconds. But you know what? Turf season's ending. Gary Contessa says, let's drop her. Let's get a win out of this filly. So Benny's Bullet back to 50,000, back to the dirt where she's run fine. I'm going to put her on top. For second, I will go to number 7, Foxbow. Fits a similar profile as my top choice, Benny's Bullet. Claimed for 50,000 out of her first start in Saratoga. Also, that was on the dirt. She did try to turf last time, finished behind Benny's Bullet, and as I said, same kind of profile. They're just going back to the $50,000 level where they started their careers out. So I'm going Benny's Bullet, Foxbow. And then for third, I'm going to throw in the number 10, Magical Dream. Thought this was an interesting first-time starter by Malibu Moon, who you think maybe distance is probably in its future out of an unbridled mare. But you know what? The works are solid. Does have a bullet work at Belmont Park leading into this race. Has an outside post with Manuel Franco, the bug boy, aboard. You know, I don't need him to win, but if he can be on the board for me, it would round out a nice trifecta for me. So in the opener, I'm going to go 6, 7, and 10.
Second half of the early daily double, we have 3-year-olds and up. Fillies and Mares, starter allowance, optional claimers, $50,000, going 6.
I went 5, 4, and 2 here, Anthony. We've only got a 5-horse field, and the number 5, Madre de Tutti. Yeah, she's in for the $50,000 claiming portion of this race, but I think she's still eligible for the starter allowance portion. She does have a win back in June. I was going to ask you about this. The end of June 27th, optional claiming $35,000 starter allowance level. Would that count for her if she was running for the claiming price?
No.
No, okay, so she must have been running for the claiming price that day because she still makes her eligible here. You know what? And I'm just trying to beat the 2 favorites, the number 4 and the 2. And Madre Duty to do that, she's going to have to run close to that last victory on June 27th. She did pick up Javier Castellano, which from everything I'm hearing, I haven't seen anything to the contrary that he is riding today. He took off his mounts yesterday. I've been checking my Twitter feed all morning long. Matt Noziker, his agent, said he was going to be riding today. Haven't seen anything to the contrary. So Javier aboard kind of drew my attention to this one. So let's put her on top, try to beat the 2 favorites. The number 4 Birdhouse, your 4 to 5 morning line favorite, in for the starter allowance portion. Second in her previous start at the $16,000 level. You know, now she's moving up to the $50,000 level. That's why I think maybe she's beatable here. But she does have consistent form right now, which probably puts her in the favoritism role. The second, my third choice will be the number 2, House on Toilsome. Again, she's in for the starter allowance portion, not for the $50,000. She was claimed for $20,000 out of her last start, had a little bit of trouble down the lane. Her last victory was way back in February 24th. So that's why I thought I'd maybe take a shot to try to beat the 2 short price horses. I don't think they're that outstanding. So let's go with the number 5 on top. 5, 4, and 2 in the Aqueduct second race.
Who was the last jockey we ever said took too long to come back from an injury? They always race back and come back too soon. No one ever says like, boy, he stayed out an extra month there, boy. Just
I met up with a former jockey, Alan Stacy, a friend of mine, when I was in Maryland. We were talking about it, and I said when I blew my knee out, I came back way too soon. I blew my ACL and had microfractures.
And by the way,
and was back in
how long?
7 months.
And that was way too soon.
It was too soon. But you know what? As a working class rider, you had to ride. I mean, you couldn't sit on the bench. You know, you had to come back and ride.
And I've said this before. I understand the plight of the jockey. Like, but to me, it's always about the bettors. It's like there's no one there to protect the bettors. I won't say one name. You know, I had one jockey tell me, and naturally, long after the fact, how it was almost impossible for them to hold the reins on a horse going back to when they were riding it. Like, thanks for the help. One jockey, his knees are gone. He can't do it. It's rough. I mean, but they're independent contracts. My point being, jockeys by and large race back. They come back too soon. They never take an extra month off. They always come back 2 or 3 days later. And Castellano went down in the last race, and you're like, whatever the minimum list, he's going to come back. He's on such a good roll. Third race on the card, 3-year-olds and up, fillies and mares. These are the claimers, $30,000. Capital B, the variety of non-winners of 2, or 3-year-olds going 6.
I went 8, 3, and 1 here. The number 8, Insolvent, is your 8 to 5 morning line, and fits the second part of this condition. Has 3 wins to her credit, including a romp by 11.5 lengths out of her last race, where she was claimed from David Jason by Bruce Brown. I don't think she should have any problem handling the little bit of a rise up to 20,000. I think you're talking pretty much, there's not much of a difference between these 12 5s, 15s, 20s, especially in these conditional claiming races. So, I couldn't go past Insolvent on top. For second, I did go with the number 3, 7 Dreams. She's 6 to 1 the morning line, and she also fits the second part of this condition. She's a 3-year-old with multiple wins. She has exactly 6 wins to her credit, and she did run them down on October 3rd at this level. So at 6 to 1, maybe if those odds can hold up, I can hook up a decent exacta. For third, I have the number 1, I'm an Indian Outlaw, who fits the first part of this condition. She's been competing on turf for the $20,000 to $35,000 level. She's 0 for 4 lifetime on dirt with 1 second on the dirt at Penn National. She's going to be adding blinkers. She's got the one hole. And as I was handicapping for tomorrow, she is also cross-entered for tomorrow. So if she's in, I'll put her in the third spot. But you know what, Anthony, I thought was interesting. I know PJ Campo, the racing secretary, is going to be moving on to the Stronach group.
Yes.
I'm wondering if we're going to continue with these three-part claiming conditional races. I know I completely understand the premise is to cast your net wide and to get bigger fields.
Right.
But they do get a little confusing sometimes.
They do, but you know,
this one's a two-parter. But
I think of it this way: that in New York, which is slow with the betting menu and slow with the conditions, is it expands out because of this. You know, I've been talking about it for 5 years. This horse population shortage, and I talk about it all the time. Basically, a horse racing population is 3 years worth of horses, basically 3, 4, and 5-year-olds running Monday through Sunday on racetracks around America, and we've been off about 20,000 3 years in a row. So there's 60,000 fewer horses. So that's why the vanilla claimers went away, because they're trying to find out who wants to. The racing secretary is who's on the grounds, what type of inventory I have, what type of races the trainers want. I have to tell you, as a bettor, because somewhat recent form, and I think of 6 months as being recent form, the third leg added to these, I like very much, because
you haven't won a race since a date.
Right, if you're an older horse that won 4 races 3 years ago,
right,
that would preclude you from these ones the capital Bs we've seen. Yeah. But a couple months ago, they started adding the third condition, which opens it up to them if they've been going poorly for the last 6 or 8 months, and it negates the idea of the 4 races they might have won 2.5 years ago. And as I would say, those races have nothing to do with the present-day athlete.
Right.
And obviously it opens up that horse to drop its name in the entry box to get one more, because as I tried to display at Laurel, for me, there are very few panaceas in life, but field size when betting horses is one of them.
I say it takes you back to the top of the show when you're talking about field size.
You got to get them in there. 5-horse fields is no good. Trust me, as a guy who follows Hollywood Park. 4th race on the card, 3-year-olds it up. Maiden claimers in for 40. Popular, mile 16th on the turf.
1, 6, and 11 here, and I talked a little earlier about, Bill Mott maybe purging his stable. The number 1 Media Kid, one of those horses that he ran him last time for 20,000 on the turf after running for 16,000. And he was my pick that day. He kind of wandered all the way down the lane. He was claimed for 20,000 by Raina Prasad. You know what? They're going to put blinkers on him, which I think are certainly going to help him. He's moving up to the $40,000 claiming level, but I don't think that's a major jump. I certainly wouldn't be picking him if they put him in a maiden special weight, but I think he still has a little bit of room for improvement. So with the blinkers added, the fact he's got a couple races under his belt, and like I said, he was kind of wandering around down the lane, really kind of lost his focus, then kind of re-engaged late. Let's put Media Kid on top at 4-1. For second, I'm going to go with the number 6. Love is Heart and Soul, making his debut he made his debut on the grass for 35,000 at Belmont Park in his first start, and then they ran him on the dirt for 50,000. Now he's back to the turf. He's going to be stretching out. He's one of those horses that just kind of ran real evenly in a sprint race, and I think that bodes well when they stretch out to 2 turns to just keep clunking along there. And I'm going to put Love is Heart and Soul in the second spot. And for third, I'll go the outside, the number 11 Lion King, claimed out of a decent second place effort for 35,000, right back in for the basically the same price. That was only his second career race, so you have to throw that one in the mix. 1, 6, 11 in the Aqueduct 4th.
Race number 5, we have 2-year-old fillies, New York State breds, maiden special weights, on the dirt, racing a mile.
I went 7, 6, and 2 here. The number 7, Canal 6, going to go back to the maiden ranks after running in the Joseph Gaima, was chasing Miss Narcissist the last 2 times that she's run, was second to her in the maiden special weight, then was a distant third to her in that state bred stake toward the end of October. You know what, Anthony, if there's no Miss Narcissist in here, and maybe the number 10, Touching My Toes, a first-time starter, the Mark Hennig barn attracted Castellano. I didn't actually put Touching My Toes in my mix because I think Mark Hennig's doing a very, very nice job this year, but he doesn't really do all that well with first-time starters. So if Touching My Toes is not a Miss Narcissist, I think Canal 6 really stands out in this field. For second, I will go to number 6, Please No Emails. Please No Emails was a very good second on October 24th, and that was only her second start of her career. She opened up a clear lead, got caught late, going to get that Lasix today. Let's put her in the second spot. And for third, I'm going to go down to the inside to number 2, Shades of Indigo. She finished third behind Please No Emails in her previous start, which is a very nice improvement over her first start, making that natural progression that I do like. And she was over 40 to 1 that day, 12 to 1 today. And like I said, I'm interested to see what the number 10, Touching My Toes, goes off, because 3 to 1 in the morning line on a Mark Hennig first-time starter. Obviously, as we say, maybe somebody knows something, quote unquote. But if Touching My Toes is not a Miss Narcissist, I think Canal 6 really stands out. 7, 6, and 2 in the Aqueduct 5th race.
Do you follow Tom Morley on Twitter?
No, I don't.
I don't know who he is, but whenever
Young trainer, yeah.
Trainer puts, I talk about it all the time. Better than odds is all I need. And when Canal 6 debuted, he had another runner then run better than odds, and I liked Canal 6 in the Gimba. I was actually surprised it was only 11 to 1 to hit the board, but. And I think I tweeted something just to let him know that we're watching, because I like,
Well, I think if you get 4 to 1, I'd be thrilled.
All right. That's 5 races in the book. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, second half of today's action from the Big A.
I'm Steve Beck.
And I'm Seth Merrill.
Together, we're loose on the lead on Capital OTB, Sundays at 10 a.m. Why should they watch, Seth?
Sit down on Sunday, have a bagel, get some great racing conversation.
Cream cheese only, no jelly. Sundays, 10 a.m., loose on the lead, Capital OTB.
Hey, race fans, head down to the all-new Clubhouse Racebook and get in the game. With live horse racing on more than 250 flat-screen TVs, state-of-the-art wagering terminals, fantastic food and drinks, an amazing Vegas-style atmosphere with seating for nearly 900 of your closest friends. Conveniently located at 711 Central Avenue, right off Exit 5 of I-90 in Albany, the Clubhouse Racebook is the better choice.
The future of online betting is here, and only at the all-new CapitalOTBBet.com. With a newly designed and engineered internet wagering platform, enhanced video streaming, additional funding options, and 3 new individual wagering opportunities, CapitalOTBBet.com delivers a state-of-the-art wagering experience found nowhere else in horse racing. Combine that with our all-new mobile website, you have 2 of the most powerful, innovative, and advanced wagering platforms available today. CapitalOTBBet.com. Log on today.
I'm Mark Casano. Join me Saturday mornings at 10 for Down the Stretch. We'll inform, analyze, and welcome in the biggest names in racing. So join me Saturday mornings at 10 for Down the Stretch, right here on the OTB television network.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. The handicaps are up to race number 6 at the Big A. We're on the turf going 11 furlongs. It's not the Red Smith handicap. We'll have that this weekend. Optional claimers in for 35, non-winners of 1.
And once again, they are fast and firm at Aqueduct today. I'm going to go 6, 8, and 11 in the Aqueduct 6 race. Number 6, Make a Decision. It's going to be seeking his 3rd straight. He's going to be exiting the New York bred ranks, but which still makes him eligible for this open company allowance, entry-level allowance, because the restricted races don't count against that. And it just looks like this horse has kind of been putting it together his last 2 races. He's just been so professional, winning both of those. And I think maybe it's probably a good time to try this open company for New York bred to take a shot in here. He's 6 to 1 the morning line. They claimed him back in February for $75,000, and they definitely got his money back very wisely, getting through his New York bred's conditions. And like I said, just watch him run the last 2 races. It looks like he's finally putting everything together. Very, very professional wins. So I'll Make a Decision on top. For second, I'm going to go with the number 8 Ampersand, who was 4th in a similar race. My 3rd choice is the number 11 Unitarian, who was 3rd in a similar. So I think maybe I'm splitting hairs, but you know what? They've shown that they belong at this group. So I'm going to put them in the 2nd and 3rd spots, 6, 8, and 11 in the Aqueduct 6th race.
7th race on the card. We've seen, if you download the daily racing form as such, we've seen this lettering of late, and I don't understand it because to me, as I read it, it's for fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and up. Optional claimers in for 35. Non-winners are 2 lifetime, but they put /C instead of 2L. I don't get it. Going 5.5. We don't get elders in New York very often on the dirt going 5.5. And when I say very often, like once every 2 or 3 years.
And Anthony, there's nobody in for the $35,000 portion of this race, and they only got 5 horses.
And it's a 2L, right?
Yeah.
I don't understand it because,
Yeah.
and the reason I bring it up is I've read the racing form almost every single day for 32 years. The C used to indicate other things, which usually meant very contrived conditions, usually for high-level stakes action, turf action for stakes caliber horses without being a stakes race. They ran them in
Right.
California, they run them at Keeneland all the time. But to me, it's as simple as a 2L, but I have a capital C. But as Jeff mentions, a field of 5, and they all would be eligible for 2L. So I think it is 2L instead of capital C.
It is a 2L. I think you could just cross out. I mean, nobody in the race is even running for the 35,000. So, basically it's a 2L. It's a 5-horse field, and it was really hard to kind of get creative with it. So I went 4, 2, and 3. The number 4 Season Warrior, she was the beaten favorite in her last start, returning from a 4-month layoff, but it was a pretty good second. I think she's going to benefit enough from that. I mean, she's 9-5 again. I was trying to get creative with it, but 5 horses, and it really wasn't an awful lot I could do with it. Season Warrior on top. For second, I'll go to number 2, Kara's Match Point. She had an eventful trip returning from a layoff. 7 furlongs on the turf, ducked in, check, break, rank. One of them trips that, she was coming off a layoff, so you think maybe you draw a line through that one, but at least she got some fitness benefit out of there at 7-2. Maybe she floats up a little bit higher than that, and you can make a decent little exacta. For third, the number 3, Laguna Girl. She finished right behind Season Warrior in their last race, so got thrown in the mix. 4, 2, and 3. Sorry, I couldn't get a little more creative with that one.
On to the 8th race. We have 3-year-olds and up. Optional claimers in for 35. Starter allowance, having run for 35 on the dirt, racing a mile.
7, 9, and 1. The number 7, Dat Melody. He broke his maiden for 35,000 in mid-September. Was claimed that day. It was only the second start of his career. They tried a maiden special weight. Again, this is another one that was claimed by Billy Ma. Apparently, he's dropped him down. He's just trying to purge this stable, get rid of some of the horses that are a little bit cheaper, but one man's junk is another person's treasure. So I think Dat Melody still has some room to improve. Obviously, in his first career start, just never got involved, but dropped to the $35,000 level, just really kind of won that race quite easily. Makes him eligible for this conditions for horses that have started for a claiming price of $35,000 and have not won a race other, so they have to fit both of those parameters. Dat Melody, with just 2 races in his career, I think still has room to improve. Let's put him on top. 10-1 the morning line, Linda Rice Jr. Alvarado. For second, I will go out to the number 9, Much Stronger. 5 career wins to his credit. All of them are claiming races, so obviously claiming races don't count as far as being eligible for this allowance portion. Very solid in his last 3 races. He's been favored every single time, and he's run well. He's two wins and a very close second. So he's going to be a formidable opponent, but I'm going to try and beat him with the number 7, Dat Melody. And for third, I'll go down to the inside to the number 1, Joking. Joking was claimed for $35,000 out of his previous start, which, $35,000 makes him eligible for this race. His last 4 races have been on the turf. Now he's switching back to the dirt, but if you look back in his form, he did break his maiden on the dirt course at Belmont Park, so he obviously can handle it. I'm going to go 7, 9, and 1 in the Aqueduct 8th race.
And in the finale, we have 3-year-olds and up. Fillies and Mares claimers in for 30,000. The Capital B variety, non-winners of 2 lifetime, or 3-year-olds on the turf going a mile to 16.
5, 7, and 4 here. The number 5, Viva Allegiance. Viva Allegiance fits the first part of this condition. Where Anthony and I were talking during the break about these 3-part conditions, and the way I look at them, how I parse them out when I'm handicapping. I try to find what horses fit the first part, then what horses fit the second part, and what horses fit the third part. Viva Allegiance fits the first part, where has never won 2 races, but was claimed out of a second-place effort for $35,000. And now this time they could, they had the option of putting her in for $30,000 or $25,000. They put her in at $25,000. I think maybe try and take a little bit more weight off of her. I've never quite understood that because I don't think a few pounds makes a difference. But if somebody wants your horse, make them pay a little bit more for it. But you know what? David Jacobson has her in for the $25,000. And again, only her 4th career start. She's never run poorly. I think she can get this one today should be able to get into a nice stalking position. I'm going to put Viva Allegiance on top. For second, I'm going to go with the number 7, Queen of Mambo, dropping down from allowance races back to turf after a horrible effort sprinting at parks, and that's usually a very forgivable event when they go out to parks racing and running that main track. Either they really take to that main track or they don't. So I'm just drawing a line through that one. I think her previous races are definitely good enough to put her in the mix. And for third, I'm going to go down with the number 4, Bozique. 10-1 the morning line, and maybe a little bit of value to throw in my triple. She's just been running hard her last 3 times for trainer Pat Quick. 3 consecutive second-place finishes. So at 10-1, I'm going to throw her in the mix. 5, 7, and 4 in the finale of the 9th race at Aqueduct.
And that's a look at the Big A this afternoon on Capital Off-Track Betting. A full day of racing commencing with Finger Lakes at 12:15. The Big A, Laurel, Churchill Downs, Hollywood Park getting back to racing. Hawthorne Park, Penn National, Pocono Downs, Saratoga Racino, Yonkers, Woodbine, Australia A and B. And you know it's a good night when you see them wrap up the card at Australia B last night. Very late in the night, but they said good night, and I had nothing else to go to. Up next, we'll be Racing Across America with Seth Merrill, and his very special guest will be Ellis Starr, taking a look at the weekend stakes action. Dave Rodman, big day at Laurel on Saturday afternoon. Maybe Dave Rodman had the pick 4 yesterday late in the day and is still jumping for joy. Then Mike Riopel going to take a look at the Illinois situation, which is just daffy. Either we're going to have it seems like we either have something strikingly similar to this year, or we're going to have something starkly different with no middle ground. I think 3 or 4 months ago there were 2 middle ground solutions, but Illinois, boy, I mean, going crazy on setting their racing dates for 2014. We only have about 45 days left to 2013. Also, we invite you to go to capitalotb.com. For if you missed any of either Jeff or my selections, you click on the Handicappers Report. You get a full listing of both Churchill Downs and the Big A. Later on today, you'll get a look, foreshadowing of Saturday's selection and our new wagering format, capitalotbbet.com. Simplest way to play the game, most enjoyable way, live streaming, race replays, easiest way to bet this great game. That wraps up the Handicappers Report. Oh, thank you very much. Also, our customer service number there. You can put that up for the good people, 1-800-292-BETS for all of your questions. As we mentioned a couple days ago, please, please, please write us at viewermail@capitalotb.com if you're having any thoughts or questions or little hiccups on the new capitalotbbet.com. We're going to put them together and find out if there seems to be a repeated type of pothole we reach and get those answers out to you to make it even easier. Up next, Racing Across America.
You're watching OTB TV, a service of Capital Off-Track Betting.